Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. Today, instead of doing a wig review, I thought I would show you my technique that I like to use for styling synthetic wigs with steam. Now these are straight synthetic wigs, not heat-friendly synthetic fibers. So that is why the steaming method is the method to use if you want to alter these styles at all. I basically will go over how to keep the fibers out of the face, how to steam them back, how you can change if there's too much of a flip to the ends, and how you can tame permatease and also keep a part in place. But before we get started, I wanted to ask that if you like this content, you hit the like button below and subscribe. Okay, so let's get started. This model here is wearing Cameron by Jon Renau in 6F27. I just love this style, but I do a few things to her before I wear her. I customize her. So the first thing that I want to focus on is the zigzag parting. I did comb some of that out just with my fingers a little bit, but it doesn't really want to stay in that position. So the first thing I want to do is part her. So I'm just going to use my Jon Renau comb here. And now we've got a nice straight part. And I have my steamer. And now please, when you do this, do be careful to sense what distance you need to be at with your hand to not burn yourself. But we just apply this directly to the surface there, and I like to do this first so we can get this in place before we, and then I just, if it's not too warm, I just press down, and that will keep that part in place. Maybe go over it a couple of times, and then keep it in place. So the key with steaming your synthetic wigs is that you keep the fibers in the position that you want them to maintain until the fibers have cooled. That way, the memory that these fibers have will change and become what you steamed, the steaming style that you applied. So there we go. Now we have a nice smooth part, and that is staying in place. Okay, then the next thing we want to try to accomplish is to kind of take care of these flips. Now, some people like this, and these do relax over time, these flippy ends, but my son has referred to these as elephant tusks when I first wear this wig, and that's not the look I'm going for. I really prefer my wigs to look as natural as possible. And I don't see too many women these days who style their bobs this way. So what we're gonna do is try to relax that a little bit. Now, using my model, I hope you can see this. Maybe we'll adjust this just a little bit. There we go. I like to we need to use a brush for this because obviously whenever you're using a steamer, please be careful and realize that you can burn yourself with these steamers. So we want to be careful, and we're going to use a brush, and I'm just brushing through just to separate these fibers and be able to apply the steam and hold it in place. So I'm just holding it straight here. I'm turning the steam back on so that these fibers can relax and we can have a little bit of a straighter look. And you can get pretty close to these fibers. I have not seen any fiber damage in any of the steaming that I've ever done. The one thing you do want to be careful about is getting too close to the lace front, and we'll talk about that when we get there. So now I've applied the steam, and we're just going to hold that in place so that it retains that memory and doesn't go right back to the flip. And you just can kind of feel it with your fingers to see if that has cooled. And there we go. That's pretty straight. Might do the next one over as well, but let's go ahead and go to the other side. Again, quite a bit of flippy ends there. So we will take the brush again and just kind of get the fibers separated and into the brush. All right, like that. Turn my steamer back on. Be careful that I'm angling it away from my hand. And just apply that up and down to those flippy ends. This is kind of, it achieves the same effect as a flat iron would for human hair if you're using it to straighten it. And obviously you can't do that with synthetic. You can't apply direct heat. You will melt the fibers. That's why we use the steam. That's probably good. And then we keep that there again. Because if I let go now while it's still warm, it'll just revert right back to the flip. So we're letting it cool. It's feeling pretty good. All right. It can still be damp, that's all right, as long as it's cool. So that is looking much better. Just as an aside, an extra tip, you can see this well-loved mannequin head here has a mark here on the forehead. And the reason I did that is that if I have a wig that I want to trim at all in the back, I have learned by experimenting with wigs that were cut straight across where I need to position the wig head onto the mannequin so that I can cut straight across and it will be straight across when I put it on my head. What I mean by that is that these mannequin heads are smaller, typically, at least smaller than my head. So in order to be able to cut it straight across the back, I have learned that I need to position my lace front right here when I do any trimming. Okay, so now we have let this cool and you can see. So it looks a little long in the front on the mannequin, but once I put it on, again, because my head is larger, this will look more sort of even, like in keeping with the cut for the Cameron. So that's that. Then I just wanted to mention, and now Cameron does not have any Permatease. So unfortunately, I can't show you exactly the difference between the before and after when you steam Permatease. But I've had toppers that had Permatease right here at the crown, and I'm not a fan of Permatease. Maybe there are some wigs where that might look good, but I think in general, wig makers are moving a little bit away from Permatease. And what I did with those toppers to just prevent that little bumpy look up at the crown is, and I'm just going to pretend this is Permatease here, I take my steamer again, and I just steamed the surface like this quite a bit. You could even lift up some fibers and make sure you really get in there, and then just press down. And that really will flatten that Permatease right out, and will make it look as if there wasn't Permatease. It worked very well on the toppers where I did that. So flattened her a little bit too. All right, now last but not least, we did want to go ahead and steam these fibers away from the face so we don't have this. Okay, now I have seen various methods online, and many of them are very good, but what I think is important is not only to steam the fibers away from the face right at the hairline, but go a little further back. If you look at the pattern for the hair, you can see that all of this is wanting to fall forward. So simply steaming her away from the face right here at the hairline, you're still going to have all this weight that wants to fall forward. So really, you need to, like a hairdresser would if they're doing a blow dry on your hair, is to go ahead and start further back and train all of these fibers to move back a little bit. So to achieve this, I think it's very helpful to use clips and to separate things. So we're going to start maybe right here and turn her a little bit so you can see right there. Okay, and you can brush it or just finger comb it. And we're gonna, now I'm using these clips so that we can keep it in place, of course, without my hands needing to be there, because you need to protect your skin. All right, so now we're going to apply the heat, and you could create a little bump with this if you wanted a little more volume on top. Maybe we'll do that, and also so the steam can really get into those fibers. So you can get pretty close. Like I said, we're not at the lace front here quite yet, I don't think. And I have, even though these steamers, and if you get too close, there are cautionary tales about it possibly causing warping to the lace front. That has never happened to me in the steaming that I've done. So here we go. That's nice and hot now. Let that cool for just a minute. We could even, just in the interest of saving time, we'll do maybe one more layer. And we can just go right on top of the other one. I'll maybe clip it a little further back so that we're not causing a dent with the clip where we just steamed. So this is what I have going on there. All right, and now we'll steam this second layer of hair. Again, you really want to get into those fibers, and you want to train all of that to go back away from the face. This takes a little patience, but really this is just so simple. And you can do this with an inexpensive styrofoam mannequin that you can set on a counter, or they have clip-on stands, or they have full stands. I'm actually just using a selfie stick with the mannequin head on top of it. All right, I think I got a good amount of steam on that. Yep, that feels nice and warm. Okay, and then of course we have this most important portion, the front. So I'm just trying to get this exactly into the position that I want, and I'm going to use that back clip because I only set out 2 clips. Okay, so that is kind of the position that I want so that I can really encourage these fibers to go back. From the side, you want to make sure there aren't any funny bumps, because if you have any kind of a shape, if there's an extreme kind of turn in the fibers, or any kind of a square shape, once you steam that, that is the shape that it will have. And then you'd have to go back and steam it and try to correct that. So here we go. Now, here's the lace front. And I'm going to really try not to get too close, but to get right up into the fibers without steaming the lace front directly. And you can hear that water boiling, and you can hear the steam being applied. There are little droplets of water on the fibers, and as I said, that's not a problem. All right, I think that's a good amount. You can maybe see a close-up of the little droplets. And we have her clipped back. And that's still a little warm to the touch. So we'll just give that another minute. Maybe also, depending on how you like to wear the style, if you tuck it or not, or you could also steam it away from the other side, just from the sides a little bit if you wanted. I don't really think that's necessary here. I think this Cameron is already, sometimes even the same style can arrive in the box, and sometimes it seems like it's already styled away from the face, and sometimes the fibers really want to fall in your face. In fact, what I like to do when I first receive my wigs, I inspect them to see if I want to keep them or not. And things that would cause me to not want to keep a wig would be, first of all, if the hairline here and the part, if that's at all too sparse, if you feel, and it's looking very white right now against this mannequin, this part is actually fine, it looks good on, we will try it on later and you'll see. But if this part here by the front hairline is too sparse, I will return the wig, because that is almost, in my opinion, an experience impossible to fix. If you know how to fix that, I would love to hear about it. Leave us a comment below. But I have tried to add fibers to the lace front, and it is very painstaking and very difficult to achieve, especially achieving knots that are nearly invisible the way they are when they come from the manufacturer. So that would cause me to return a wig. Also, if there is not the right amount of length, if you feel that that particular style ended up being a little shorter than you're experienced with, then I would return her. Or if the fibers just fall too much into the face to where you think even with steam you couldn't correct it, then I also would return that wig. But I think I've talked enough, and now this is nice and cool, so we can remove our clips. All right. And now we'll just kind of finger brush her, and she's still a little bit damp, so she needs to cool. Pardon me, she needs to dry. But that is looking good, so much better. And if you move her forward, this is about as much as she falls forward. And remember, before, I think those front layers kind of came diagonally across the mannequin's face like that. So that is so much better. I'm going to try her on so that you can see what Cameron looks like now that we have steamed her away from the face and that we have relaxed these flippy ends so that they're not so extreme. Okay, so here's Cameron on my head. As you can see, we've relaxed the flips quite a bit on both sides. And just to let you know, I did end up trimming her just a little bit because after I relaxed those flips, it was a little bit long on this side. So I, of course, just do a little bit at a time because these fibers won't grow back. So let me show you the sides. You can see that the flips are much more natural looking, a little straighter on both sides. And then let's do the test to see if it falls on the face. I would say that's much better. The part, you can see, is nice and straight. And when I put the wig on, the part just fell right back into place. There was no more zigzag parting that had to be corrected, which is really a time saver when you put on the wig in the morning, to be able to just put it on and go. So overall, I hope that this video is going to give you the confidence to work with a steamer to achieve the exact style that you want from your wig. You're not stuck with the style that you get when you open the box. And you can absolutely make little tweaks like straightening. You can even curl as well. And certainly work with the fibers to keep them out of your face. Just be careful, use a steamer, because of course these synthetic fibers that are not heat friendly should only be styled with a steamer, and maybe product you could try as well. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up down below and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.